Hi guys, I'm Jody. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. And if you are back, then thanks for joining me again. So today I want to talk about organization in your home because I think it is something that is a constant struggle for most of us. And I also want to let you know that this is coming from a no judgment zone. I was not born an organized person. I was not organized when I was a kid or even as a young adult. I was terrible. So this is coming from a person who does not just naturally have this organizational skill or ability. I just actually learned it and have gotten better at it and better. And so I want to say that my journey with having an organized space probably started, I've always wanted to have an organized home, but it really started with me learning about it probably 6 years ago. I want to say that I watched a minimalism documentary on Netflix, and that kind of got the juices flowing, where it was like, I want that. Like, I want a clean space. I want less stuff. I want to get rid of clutter. And I have a friend that has always maintained a very organized, clean home, and I was always jealous of that. I'm like, I want my house to feel like this. It just felt so welcoming and warm. And so those are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. And I also want you to keep in mind, if you've ever worked on having like a diet or an exercise plan, like if you've ever worked on trying to get fit, and it takes a while, right? You're not going to become fit overnight, and you're not an athlete, so you're not going to be super good at lifting weights or even knowing what to do. And so I like to look at organization as the same sort of thing. It's like a skill that you can develop and you can get better at over time. So with that being said, there are 3 key ingredients that I think you really want to think about and have in order to maintain an organized home, and that is, number 1, a plan. So just like if you were going to work out, you need to have a plan of what you're going to do that week or those days, right? So you need to have a plan. You want to stay consistent, so you have to have consistency. That's just like with anything else, especially that what I've learned later in life is that nothing gets done if you're not consistent. Everything that you want to do that you want to be successful is going to take consistency. And so that is just something we have to constantly be making ourselves get better and better at. I also want you to keep in mind positivity. And so, like I said, I think of organization as a skill that you are developing, and it is a process, it's a journey, and so it's not going to be done overnight, and it's going to continue to need to be done. So just like if you are exercising or trying to be healthy, you can't just eat fruits and vegetables for a month, lose a bunch of weight, and then go back to eating, carbs and sugar and all that, and then without gaining the weight back. It's the same thing. You're just going to have to maintain a schedule for the rest of your life. No big deal, right? So let's make it as fun as possible and enjoyable. I have 10 tips for you on keeping it organized. And then if you happen to live with other people, sometimes that makes it challenging as well. So maybe you have like a spouse or a child or a roommate who tends to not have the same organizational goals as you or the same way of even living as you. And so we're going to talk about some tips if you're dealing with that. Let's get started. So the first benefit of keeping your home organized is reducing stress. So as soon as you walk in your home, you want to feel like your home, you want to feel calm. A way to do that is by having your space organized. And also then where things will go. And so a second benefit is just saving time. You're not kind of thinking about where does this go, and then spending time, over the weekend putting everything away, or on an evening putting everything away. Reducing stress, saving time, you're going to boost productivity because when you have a calm space around you, your mind can be more calm, and then you can be more productive because your thoughts are going more towards what you need to be accomplishing versus thinking about, oh, I need to pick that up, or I need to put that away. Why is that sitting there? Blah, 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 all these thoughts. It also can help you have a healthier space, less dust and less allergens, but also just your mind can be healthier. And then the final benefit that we'll talk about is having better relationships. And so when you can keep things organized and have a space for everything, then everybody knows where everything goes and you have a system. And it's a lot easier to work together when you have a system and you have a home for everything. So my first tip is having a schedule. And so whether that looks like you're going to work on organizing different projects, you're going to do a junk drawer on Monday, and on Tuesday, you're going to do your nightstand, or something where if you have an overhaul where you need to go through your home and actually really get it organized at this point, then you're going to want to plan that out, when you can do it, the amount of time that you have, and be realistic with that as well. So you can do a junk drawer in 10 or 15 minutes. But if you want to do your basement, that's going to take a lot more time, right? So whether you want to break that up into little chunks and take one shelf unit in the basement at a time, maybe do one a weekend so that you still have time to go and do other things. That's the way I would prefer to do it. Or you set aside an entire weekend and that's all you're doing is working on the basement. So you want to schedule it and you want to put it on your calendar so that you are dedicating yourself to that and your time is dedicated to that, so you don't let it get taken over by anything or anyone else. A command center is another thing that you could consider having. And so especially if you have a family and you've got kids, if you just have a command center where you've got mail that goes there, everybody sorts their own mail, or it also could include places where they drop their book bags and they have notes for you. They might be able to pin them up there. You have a calendar so everyone can kind of see what's on the calendar. So that's a basic organizational tool that you can have in your home just to kind of keep everybody on the same page. You could also have the schedule as far as like cleaning or organizing there and who's responsible for what and what days. So a command center is really great. You also can involve your family. So don't think of this as just something that you are going to do yourself. If you want this to be a positive experience and something that you're going to be able to maintain, then everybody, I think, in my opinion, should get in on it. And so as you're organizing things, you can talk with the people that it's going to, also involve. So if you have a spouse and you're trying to organize a space where you come in and everybody puts their keys, then you can think about how you want to organize it, how you think it should be organized, maybe do it, but then have a discussion with them and say, what do you think? Does this work? Can you maintain hanging your keys up here? Do you like it? Whatever. Just make sure that you're communicating and involving your family as well. And then a huge tip is having zones. So for everything. So like when you come in where your shoes go, make sure that you have an area to put your shoes. So if you need to go and get like a shoe organizer, make sure that that's there so everybody can put their shoes away and they're just not strewn all over the place. Or a basket. A basket could work too. And then make sure that, like I said, you're communicating with your family and saying, hey, do you think we could just throw our shoes in this basket when we come in the door? Little things like that. So basically that just means everything has a home. And I think that that's probably been the most challenging part for me, is sometimes you come across these weird little things that you're like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, where does this go? And I've been thinking about it, like if it's something that has to do with Craig's work and it's a tool or something like that, then we have two locations at this point in the home. One is the basement, and that's kind of like the overall tools, and then one's a specific area that he's currently working on. And so if it's like a tape measure or something, I'll probably put it upstairs where he's currently working so that in case he needs a tape measure, it's up there. So that's just kind of how we're dealing with that right now because our home is under construction, always. So you also have to be flexible. Your lifestyle or the way that you're running your life is going to be different than other people's. So say you're looking up tips online or even learning, like what I might suggest might not work for you, but try to think creatively and think out the box and how, organizing or having different homes for things will work best for you. Where is it going to be easiest for you or that person to put things away? So for instance, we have a bookcase that's out there and I like to decorate the top of it. And so it was Christmas time, and so I wanted to put like Christmas decorations up. And that's a place where Craig will always put his like nighttime things that are in his pockets. He'll empty his pockets and then put it on the bookcase, and it's like a wallet, a knife, whatever than his normal things that he carries. And so, but they were just sitting there and I'm like, this could be like better. So I just grabbed like a little basket that I have and then just set the little basket there, and then he just puts them in there, and it feels better to me. It feels more organized, but it still goes where he's comfortable putting it and he's used to putting it. So it's just working together as a team. You can also consider using your downtime. So if you are making dinner and you've got like 20 minutes before it's going to be done, you could take 20 minutes and clean out one of your drawers. That's one way that you can keep on top of things. A way to do that too is to make a list. So if you think about and go through your home, kind of like an inventory of your space, and say, okay, this needs organized. So right now for me personally, I know that I want to organize the coat closet. I want to organize underneath the kitchen sink and the bathroom sink. So I have definitely the basement, but I have certain areas right now that I want to tackle. So I'm going to make a list of those, and then I'll put that list like on the fridge or somewhere where I can regularly check it. So if I have a little bit of downtime, I can just tackle one smaller part of that project, or if it is already small, just tackle the whole thing. So definitely making a list of the spaces and the things that you want to do. It can also help you think through like, well, what am I going to need? Or even start looking online for solutions. Obviously, part of this organization is also going to be letting go of things. And I did kind of do another video where I talked more about this, but basically it was about decluttering. And a part of that is being able to let go of things. And so that's also going to be a part of your organizational journey as well, or at least it was a big part of mine. Some people don't hold on to things anyway, so they don't really have that problem, but I tend to be sentimental and I want to hold on to everything. So I still have things in the basement that I should get rid of, like, you know, my son's kindergarten drawings from 25 years ago. I mean, they're at least all in like a clear plastic bin, but at the same time, like, he doesn't want them. So, and I've already asked. So if they don't want those things, then what I'm going to do is the ones I really love, take a picture of them and then put them in an album on my phone. And if I ever really feel nostalgic and I want to go through them, I can go through them. At least I'm not completely getting rid of them. But anyway, so yeah, make a list of those areas that you want to organize, and then consider doing like a daily reset. So something that I do at nighttime is I like to have a clean sink in the morning. And like I said, this is like a no judgment zone here. I am not always perfect, and we don't always wake up to a clean sink, but generally I like to. So, and I think Craig does too. So we're pretty good about staying on top of the dishes, but making sure that we have a clean sink, and then cleaning the counters off and getting coffee ready for the next morning. That's like a big daily reset for me. And like, I like the counters. There's stuff on our counters, but not anything that doesn't belong on the counter necessarily. Fruits and vegetables. And so, and then there's obviously some of the appliances that we use on a regular basis. I know some people hate things on their counters. Like, I don't keep the toaster up on the counter. I do keep that down in the cupboard because we don't use that every day. But the things that are there every day, we make sure that they're easily accessible, and then we just wipe up every night and make sure that it looks, you know, decent for the next morning. So when we go down, we feel good about it and feel good about our space. Something I really want to express too is starting small. So like I mentioned earlier with the basement, if you have an entire basement where you're like, or a garage or something like that, where you know it's going to be huge and it's going to take a lot of time, just consider breaking it up into smaller chunks. Do one table or one shelving unit, and just tackle that one spot as best you can until you have a larger chunk of time that you can put into it. And then starting small just also means like start with drawers, junk drawers, or just to kind of get your juices flowing and thinking about things. Because like I said, it really is similar to working out. You don't just wake up one day and become an athlete. Like, you have to start walking, and then soon you're walking, and then you're jogging, and then soon after that you're running, right? So you have to build that stamina. And I really think it's the same way with being organized and keeping your home clean. It's like, start small and build up on those skills and those like habits, and staying like committed and consistent is something that you're just going to develop over time, and you'll get better and better at it. Something else to consider as you're doing this is, like I said, repurposing things. So using baskets that are potentially maybe holding old things like in your children's rooms or something that they no longer really need. Consider kind of thinking about looking around when you're doing your inventory of spaces you want to organize, and think like, well, could I use that basket somewhere else? Like we've been organizing our home for the last couple weeks, and I haven't had to buy really anything because I've had so many. I have a ton of baskets and I've had them for a long time. They last a long time. So if you do have to invest in some baskets, don't be afraid to. And then my final tip is to just have grace with yourself and your family. And so that's where the positivity kind of comes in. It's just remaining positive about it, reminding yourself that this is a journey and that this is going to take time, and it's something that you're going to work on for the rest of your life, honestly, is being organized, staying clean. So just give yourself grace. Don't, try not to get upset with yourself or your family if things get out of hand in one area. Just know that that's a part of life and that's going to happen, and it is a-okay. Okay, so now if you are living with a roommate or a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, child, teenager, whatever, sometimes that makes it more challenging to stay organized. So I have some tips for you on that. Lead by example is my number one. So you want to, if they're not quite on board and like they tend to be messier or something like that, really leading by example is going to help them to see like what's happening around them and how it makes them feel. And they will see it, and then they'll be like, oh, I like this. And so they'll be more apt to want to help you maintain that organized space. But it's going to start with you and just staying consistent and trying not to get angry about it, because at this point, think of it as this is your journey, you're learning to be organized, and you're hoping that kind of like rubs off on them, and I really do think that it will. Make sure that you're communicating with them and not criticizing them. So just like I said, if it's something like you want to have a better space for where you walk in and you want the keys to be hung somewhere or something like that, then just make sure that you're talking with them and say, is this going to work for you as well? Because they live there too, and you need to be considerate of that and how they want to live as well. And so just have that conversation on how well it's working for everybody. And yeah, definitely try not to criticize them, because that won't help them want to be on board with it. They'll just see this as like one more thing that they have to worry about, or one more thing that's annoying about being home or frustrating. And so you don't want it to turn into that. You want it to be a positive experience. And so try as hard as you can to just, keep it a positive experience. Another tip is to start small and be specific with that partner. So if you're going to tackle like a filing cabinet together, or you're going to tackle where your shoes go, then, that's a great place to start, is like, maybe not a filing cabinet, that can be a little overwhelming, but a shoe area, a junk drawer is a great place, because typically the junk doesn't just belong to you, it belongs to the other person. Maybe nightstands could be something else that you could start with. So start small so that it doesn't get frustrating, and you just think through like, okay, well, where should this thing go? Where should it be? And then that way you're both partaking in it and you feel like you did it together. Also consider dividing and conquering. And so if you tend to be a little better at doing dishes and keeping up on dishes, then maybe they can keep up with the trash or the recyclables or something like that. Use tools that they can follow. And so labeling things is really helpful, especially if you're not using clear baskets. Make sure that they know where you're putting their stuff so that they're not like, where is this? Because I definitely am guilty of that, and it doesn't go well. So don't do that. It comes back to communication, but also making things make sense and labeling them if you can, so that it's helpful for them to follow it. Celebrate your progress and not your perfection. So this is, like I said, it's something that you're going to go through and you're going to continue to do. So just continue to keep that in mind, that every project that you tackle, every little drawer, that is success in your journey to having an organized space, and that's awesome. So celebrate that. We live in our homes and they should be lived in. They should not look like Pinterest board homes. And even those ones, I think it's so funny if you follow like people on Instagram that do like decorate their houses, and they're always sharing that. I love when they show behind the scenes and then it's like a complete disaster because it helps you feel so much better. It's like, yes, thank you. Like, what we're doing is okay. This is real. This is real life. Okay, so my final tips are staying on top of the organization and how to move forward. So like I said, you have to be consistent. You want to make a plan. You want to set aside time each like weekend or once a month or something like that. You have it on your schedule, you have it on your calendar so that you know that that is what you're doing. And then you're making progress. And by the end of the year, you could have an entirely organized home. Like seriously, that could actually happen. So, but you have to plan it, you have to put it on your calendar, and then you have to stay consistent with this is what I'm doing. You could try something like the Pomodoro technique. So if you haven't heard of this, there are apps for it, but basically it's setting a timer for like 25 minutes and then you get a 5-minute break. And then you do another 25 minutes and a 5-minute break, and you do like 4 circuits of that basically, and then you get a longer break. And so that's another really great thing. I think especially if you have like ADHD where you can get distracted or something, it's like, okay, I'm gonna set this timer for 25 minutes and I'm gonna get as much done in this area as possible. So it can kind of be fun too, like a race. So you might even be able to do this like with your kids, like say, okay, you got 25 minutes and whoever, you know, gets their room cleaned up the most wins this prize or something like that. So maybe consider trying that. Have a weekly or daily routine. Like I said, like have a nightly refresh or something like that where you do clean off the island and clean off the counters or whatever tends to stress you out the most, that you want to wake up and you want to come downstairs or, you know, out into your living room and have like something be clean and organized because you love the look of that, or it just makes you feel good. So make sure that you're tackling those areas first and then maintain that daily if you can. Like I said, you don't have to be perfect, just try to remain consistent and continuing to develop your skills in organization, and you will get there, I promise. So if you have any questions, go ahead and comment below. If you found this video helpful, please like it. That's very helpful to me. And subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys soon. See ya.